Yo, 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 good people. Welcome to the HerbMan Show. Yo, 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 good people. It's your homie HerbMan, and you back upside the head with another hot banger boogie. Hey, look, go tell somebody your homie HerbMan is on. And if you're new to our program, welcome. Go ahead and hit that logo right at the bottom of your screen right there. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you never miss what we're bringing to the world, all right? Now, remember, you guys, I love you, and it is free to like, share, and subscribe, all right? Now, what we're talking about today, man, is a very critical subject matter. There's a lot of research, tons of research in this particular subject matter that I'm talking about, but I really want to lend my opinion, all right, on what I believe are some of the issues concerning our culture, our race, that is concerning our people and our community. Now, in doing this, I'm going to be talking about the human race, but we really want to understand that I'm trying to emphasize the differences between who we are as individuals versus all of the rest of the people, okay? Now, we've all heard that we all come from someplace in Africa. All of mankind comes from, whether it be Kenya or whether it be South Africa. They continue to keep researching. It's believed that the cradle of humanity started in Kenya because obviously we found Lucy there, all right? But there's other evidence coming out that it could started in South Africa, whatever. But I'm not concerned with necessarily which country in Africa we started from. Just to understand that life began in Africa is where we want to start at, okay? And because of that, Africans' life started in Africa, but there are still people living in the continent of Africa. All right, and so you're talking about people who we're talking about the first people starting in Africa, but then we're also talking about those who stayed in Africa and maintained in Africa. It's almost like we're talking about those who stayed connected to the mother, or those who stayed in the home with the parents. You know, when we're talking about the Bible of the prodigal son, there's one son that stayed in the father's house, all right, and then there's another that strayed away. Okay, and it is presumed that the individual that stay in with the parents or that stay closer get more of the information needed. Okay, and I'm not saying that anybody is better. What we're really talking about today is how we are different. How we are different and why we are different, okay? So when you're talking about our DNA, our genome, then you're talking about really still having the essence of the original people inside of you. Even though you may be born in Americas, or even though you may be born in the West Indies, or even though you may be born in other countries, if you are a African descendant, part of the diaspora, then you, my friend, still have genetic continuity, a genetic connection with the original people, okay? With the original people. And you say, well, HerbMan, where are you going with this? I'm trying to get you to understand that we are different. Therefore, we cannot continue to not be aware of those differences and how they are affecting us in every aspect of our lives, okay? In America, we know that Black Americans or African Americans have disparities in just about every category here in this particular system, okay? And there are going to be reasons why, because this system was not necessarily designed for you, okay? But there is a system that has always been around that we created, that we are no longer utilizing as to be a system that works, that we can definitively say works, and that people need to understand that works. Other races need to understand that works. And maybe they will see the differences in the two systems and understand that this system may well be beneficial than this system. And it may not be beneficial for everybody, but it may be beneficial for the Africans and the African diaspora. Now, what are these systems and what are you talking about still? We're talking about the differences between spirituality versus education, okay? And I'm gonna walk you guys through this, man, so it's gonna take me a little while because, again, you know, this is my this is something that is my opinion, and I want to get this out, you know what I mean? I want to be able to really get out what I feel is necessary, okay? Looking for something the right way. So we're talking about spirituality versus education, okay? And in my opinion, spirituality breeds ingenuity, okay? What is ingenuity? Glad you asked. The definition of ingenuity, you guys, is the quality of being clever, being original, and being inventive. I want you to understand that. The quality of being clever, original, and inventive. Now, this to me is the primitive system that we originated the whole world from. All of these mechanisms that have been created, from the cotton gin to the light bulb to the street light to the cell phone to the iPad, all of these things were created under ingenuity, okay? Under ingenuity. You don't know where the inventor got his ideas from, right? Because he invented the whole pattern. He invented the whole policy. He invented the whole procedure, okay? And what we do is, when something has been created and then there is procedures that can be factual and written down, and there's things and evidence that you can read and all the proof, then that's where you come down and start being educated, right? And the reason I got this pen, because education in the modern system equals money, but it also equals dependency. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it also equals dependency, okay? Now, I want to break down to you the differences between spirituality and education, because there's been a lot of researches on this too that says that the more educated you are, sometimes your belief systems decrease. Not in religious practice though, which means that you still may go to church. But as far as truly believing in the spirit realm and understanding that, it could be tainted by the level of education you got, okay? By the level of education you got. Again, these are already been research stuff that says that education may do affect one's belief system in this particular area. It may do affect your ability to believe in just the faith realm, okay? Because education here promotes dependency, but it also promotes what? Money. And everybody wants money. Everybody feels that money is the key to freedom. But in my opinion, money is the cage or the prison or the cell of dependency. You understand that? So if this is the primitive system, what is an example of this primitive system? Okay, just doing this particular virus and all this stuff going on, right? The Tanzania president told everybody, hey, look, I don't know what's going on with this thing, and we don't have the money to get what we need to fight the virus. We don't have the education to understand exactly where it's going, how it's going, whatever. We don't have the infrastructure. So what I can do for you guys is just basically tell y'all to go pray. And it didn't matter if you was Christian, if you was Muslim, if you was this or if you was that. We're gonna shut this particular country down for 3 days and allow you guys to go into your cubby holes and pray this thing away. Now, the modern system says, based on their education, hey, y'all not even reporting y'all numbers. Y'all not reporting y'all numbers. Y'all not really letting us know exactly what's going on over there. So how is it that you guys are really saying that you don't have any coronavirus, right? How is it that you guys are really saying you don't have any coronavirus? You know, you can't just pray this thing away. But in Tanzania, they believe that it's gone. Nobody is doing anything about wearing masks, socially distancing. They're not doing none of that in Tanzania. Because once they got off their knees and once they entered this primitive system, it's over with after that. It's over with. We're not gonna doubt that, right? We're not gonna doubt that by telling people still wear your mask and social distance, although we prayed this thing away. No, we're going to believe that we prayed this thing away. And a lot of times, and I'm not saying that people in Tanzania are not educated, but what I am saying is to us is that you have two different things going on here. You have a lot of times, I want to say this real quick. A lot of times we want what we don't have, but we don't utilize what we have. We want what we don't have, or what we think we don't have, and we don't utilize the very thing that we do have, okay? And so for me, all African people and all African descendants created the world and started all of what you see today with this primitive system. Spirituality equaling ingenuity. And through those means, they were able to be clever enough to figure out how to colonize plants and vegetation, to figure out how to build a boat to travel on the water and go fishing, to figure out how to create tools to cook and to dig with, right? All of these are clever and original things that are happening on the inside of an individual, okay? They were also inventive enough to pass down things like mathematics, the pyramids, chemistry, medicine, and all of these different things came out of this particular primitive system. Spirituality equaling ingenuity in people. And this, my friends, is what's missing in the modern day and times, right? Because we are not being ingenuitive enough. And what we are doing is we're sending all our people to the education system so that they can go and get money. And we all know that in America, they tell you, look, the more education you got, the more money you make, right? The more education you got, the more money you make. But they fail to tell you that most of the true entrepreneurs really didn't have a bunch of education. Most of your mom and pop shops that have been lasting 40, 50, 60 years, most of the judges that have been, a lot of these people don't have the education, but they knew right from wrong. They knew the policy and procedure. And back in the day, that's all you had to do was know it. And you got your position. But now you have to prove your degree of knowledge, right? You have to prove the measurement or the amount of knowledge that you have, and that is what we call a degree. A degree, a measurement of knowledge, okay? So education in the modern system equals money, but to me it also equals dependency on this particular system, right? And when you're educating yourself, someone had to write it down. So to me, education is more of a safe route to duplication, but not to origination. Okay? So when you're sending your children to school to be educated by all of these different things, by all of these different people, basically what you're breeding them to do is only at best duplicate what has already been out here. Okay? But if we can use our spirituality to really enforce, to be the foundation and the groundwork that is happening within our youth, especially in our African communities, right? If we allow them to understand that their greatest asset, that your greatest asset, my brother and my sister, is your spirituality and your ingenuity. And that as strong as you can build your spirituality, not your religious practices and not your religion, but your spirituality, your automatic connection to to the universe. The first man was natural. And in your DNA, you have more of a natural intelligence, more of a natural understanding of the nature of things. And if you can tap back into that, that will allow you to be ingenuitive enough to keep creating the advances of mankind as you have done before. But when you relinquish this that created the world here, this is what created the world, and this is what invented everything. And this is where we are now. This is what is maintaining. So you have construction, they build the building, and then you got your maintenance men, they just maintain the building, right? So this is what everything that here has constructed the world that we know now. But we are maintaining these things from this modern system. So you're only duplicating what has already been invented. You're only duplicating or copycatting the original. Even all the way down into health. A lot of, even in my field here, a lot of people want to be like Dr. Sabi or be like this or be like that. You got to go further than these brothers and sisters did. You got to take the cloak, but you still got to go deeper, and you got to go further, and you really need to utilize, this is your special gift. This is your way of being superhuman. You got to tap back into this spirituality and ingenuity that your people did before you to get you further on in life. And I'm talking about this is important for the human race, because without us taking this in and exercising this thing and making this thing bigger and better, it's like a muscle. Without us exercising this and without us making this the main focal back into our African cultures and back into our African American understanding, this would be a direct detriment to the humankind, because you will not know where to go next. You will not understand where to go next. So we can educate ourselves all day. At best, you would be like somebody else. Or you can tap back into what's originally yours, and at best continue to be an impact and be a catalyst to advance humankind. It is solely up to you. And because we are different in these aspects, even all the way down to a health thing, there's research out there that'll let you know that they don't want to tell you, but our DNA sequencing is different than everybody else's. We have 9 DNA sequencing, everybody else has 6. And I believe that those 3 more DNA sequencing that we have in our DNA has a lot to do with this particular primitive system here. And this is attributed to our intelligence as the first people on planet Earth. It has nothing to do with us being better than anybody, with us living in a better location than anybody, on better soil than anybody, more resources than it. It has nothing to do with that. It has something to do with you being first, okay? And you staying in the womb of Mother Africa. And you getting all of the ingredients and all of the stuff when you're in that womb, okay? But for the rest of us who leave out of the mother's womb prematurely, we miss a whole lot of stuff. And I understand this through medical astrology, where even if somebody was born in 6, 7, 8, 9 months, we understand that there's going to be 3, 4, 5 different minerals that have been missing because you came out prematurely. Now that's just an understanding that we utilize in medical astrology to basically help one understand what may be missing in their biological understanding of themselves. Whether it be sulfur, phosphorus, maybe you need some calcium, maybe you need some potassium. It's all there, okay? And we did this in the manner of tissue salts. But my point is to you is that if that's been done in other things, then you can bring that understanding into this right here and stand into the womb of Mother Africa to this point has elevated the African intelligence to to a point of no return. But what we're doing is we're seeking things that we think we don't need, that we think we don't have, and we're not practicing on the things that we do. So even people who are in the African culture, they don't know. They want this. They want this, education, money. That's what they want. That's what they want. And they're trying to create systems to get right here, to no fault of their own. This is what all third world countries and second world countries, everybody's trying to copy this particular format of the modern day system, capitalism. And at best, when you copy, you only can duplicate, but you cannot create, invent, and originate anything. And so what I'm saying is, if we're going to be different, because we just are, then we need to embrace the differences. And we need to formulate our own understanding of ourselves and give ourselves what is beneficial to us to make us more of the people that we were created to be. And so if you're listening to this video, no matter where you are, and if you really truly can understand what I'm trying to say in this particular thing about being inventive, about being original, and about being clever enough to figure things out. And we've done this thing not just only in pre-civilization, prehistoric times, but we've done this in slavery. We were clever enough to make it through that. And I'm telling you, all the other human races, you guys, are at awe with how we've been able to be so clever, how we've been able to manage to keep our population up. Billions of us have died through 3 means of death: homicide, genocide, and suicide, all the way up until today. There's no other human race on planet Earth that has went through the dauntingness of death that we have, and still we're number 2 in the population of humankind. Huh? Who are you? What is it about you? How can billions of y'all be affected and you can still be the 2nd largest population on the planet? How is that? How can you continue to smile with these disparities? How can you continue to be full of joy when you have no money, so to speak? How can Africans be so happy and so joyful and so loving when in your Western education mind, you think that they have nothing? How can African Americans stay in America when police are shooting them? They go to jail more than the other people for smaller crimes. I mean, what's good about America and why are you still there? People are at awe with our fortitude and our strength. But I want them to be at awe with our spirituality and our ingenuity. That is what God has given us to be the number 1 people on planet Earth. And as long as you cannot embrace that and you start going into the modern system of education and dependency, I'm telling you, my brothers and sisters, that at best you can only be a copycat. But when you want to continue to impact the world the way that we have in every aspect of life and continue to push this world forward, then I'm going to need every African who hears this particular video, no matter if you're in Africa or the diaspora, I'm going to need you to practice in your primitive system so that you can start creating children that start creating, inventing, and being original. So even within you, you can start creating, inventing, and original things. This is the shift. This is the awakening. This is the consciousness that needs to happen. Again, I gave you guys a perfect example of a primitive system versus a modern system, and why we benefit the primitive system, but why the primitive system will benefit the modern world. I gave you that example when talking about Tanzania. I allowed you to understand why we as Black African Americans flock to religious sectors. Because it's there, you guys, the DNA. It's all in our DNA. There's not a whole lot we can do to run from it. It's in us. It's down deep inside. But if they re-educate you and they start you off at slavery instead of at kingship, instead of at Godhead, okay? If they start you out on the back of the boat instead of in the sky, you see what I'm saying? Then now you starting at a lower level of knowing yourself. You don't even understand that you got the capacity to do all this stuff. So it's almost like when you take a animal, when you take a wild gorilla and put him in the cage, you got to teach him how to be a caged gorilla. But when he's in the wild, you don't got to teach him nothing. When you take a wild lion and you put him in the cage, you got to teach him how to be a caged lion. But in the wild, you don't have to teach him how to be a lion. He automatically is a lion. Monkeys and everything, they're all the same. But when you put them in the cage, you got to re-educate them on who they are. Because why? The environment is different. And when you change the environment, then you change the species. Now the species has to adapt to a lower level of self-understanding, to a lower level of self-knowledge. And because they don't know how to really be nothing but themselves, you got to teach them how to be something else. And so what you're finding is that you see a lot of Black folks with white minds. I will repeat that. What you are finding and what you're running into is a lot of chocolate white people. Because we don't really know ourselves. From a health standpoint, from a financial standpoint, from all kinds of standpoints. And you say, well, you know, education equal money, that's dependency. Let me add that little financial aspect to this. Name me any inventor, any originator that you think gonna be broke. When you create, wealth is at the end of that, not a paycheck. When you originate, wealth is at the end of that, not a paycheck. When you invent, wealth is at the end of that, not a paycheck. Okay, so don't get it twisted. This is a prison. This is a rat race that just keeps you going. This is the lie in order for them to re-educate you. It's almost like telling the gorilla, well, you're gonna be safer here in the cage. You don't have to worry about disease or anything. We're gonna make sure we're gonna inspect all your food, everything. Why? I would rather live a short life in the way I'm supposed to live than to live a long life not knowing who the hell I am. So man, look, we have to get this thing fixed up. But we can't be running away from who we are, because who we are has made us the special individuals that we are. But we got to understand those special qualities and what really is the gift. You see what I'm saying? Because yes, we can persevere, and yes, we are very resilient people, but it really comes from the bowels of something that we have yet to understand. And it's because of our spirituality, and it's because of our ingenuity, but it really is because we stayed in mama's womb long enough to get all of the specialness. And what we're being now is people are trying to take that away. People are trying to suppress that. People are saying, well, that's so primitive and that's what you used to do. But here's the new thing now. Let me teach you this. Right? But who are you to teach me something that I taught you? How can you educate me on finances when I taught you about mathematics? How can you tell me about health when I invented medicine? How can you show me the tools and how they work when I invented tools? Why do you have to educate me on how to be me when I created you? So we really got to get this thing in tune. And I'm asking and I'm begging and I'm pleading for the African ears that can hear to hear. And start teaching your children about the spirituality and about the ingenuity of their people. And start allowing them to understand, point blank, write it out. This is the gift of your people. This is what has advanced the world. Not education advanced the world, ingenuity advanced the world. And that ingenuity is greater in you than anybody. But you first must have that spirituality. And that spirituality has to come from that connection with nature again. So go back to nature. Go back to nature. Go back to nothing. You don't need the book to know God. Go back to nothing. There you will find everything. I love you guys, man. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Go tell somebody your homie HerbMan was on. And until next time, love HerbMan.